It's primary election day, Tuesday, August 4th, 2020. I'm Sven Gustafson.
And I'm Jer Stays. We'll start with a 2-minute drill on stories you should know around town, where if you hear the people mover chime right here, you know we got to wrap that story up. Then Fletcher Sharp joins us to talk the DCFC season and Detroit Lions quarterback Matt Stafford getting coronavirus.
Speaking of coronavirus, let's start there with some numbers fresh in from the state of Michigan. Right after we say a quick thank you to our members on Patreon, you too can join Alan, Tony, Ben, and Lynn at patreon.com/dailydetroit. It makes a huge difference to those of us putting on this show. And thanks so much.
All right, here's the latest when it comes to coronavirus in Michigan. The state had more than 600 new cases reported Monday, with 6 fatalities. That brings the total number of cases to nearly 83,400 and deaths to 6,212. Nationally, the CDC is warning that deaths will exceed 180,000 in the next few weeks due to spikes in other states. A good piece of news is that our RT level, or transmission spread level, is now just below 1 at 0.98. That's great news and ever so slowly starting to get our arms around the virus in Michigan. However, a number of factors could change that as schools and colleges will be reopening, as well as there is a level of pandemic fatigue among some Michiganders.
83,000 cases is a staggering number, frankly. Just wow. I will also add, Jared, that I have been reading about a number of school districts that are announcing plans to start the school year online only, at least for the fall semester, or at least part of the fall semester, because they don't feel like things are in control enough. I mean, let's remember that, everybody talks about how, there's a lot of evidence that kids aren't terribly susceptible to the coronavirus, that they're more like, carriers or transmitters of the virus, then they actually tend to suffer from it. And while that may be true, there are cases where children have suffered and died from coronavirus. And let's not forget that schools are staffed by adults who are definitely, without question, more at risk, from suffering the consequences of this disease. So, I just feel sorry for school administrators and planners trying to figure out how to pull this off. More unflattering, racially tinged news out of Macomb County, this time from the county medical examiner's office. There, 3 female employees were recently fired and a 4th placed on paid administrative leave for misbehavior that allegedly included racist and sexist incidents, including bringing in a cake decorated with a black penis. An employee of the morgue has now filed a formal complaint with the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission and the county. Complaint reportedly does not involve Macomb's chief medical examiner, Dr. Daniel Spitz. The death investigator who filed the complaint says the offensive behavior has gone on for years. It includes posting pornographic images in the office, making racist comments, and expressing an unwillingness to interact with family members of deceased black people. The cake with the black penis on it arrived at the office the day after the widely publicized death of George Floyd, while he was being arrested in Minneapolis. That, of course, touched off massive protests across the country. An employee allegedly brought in the cake after she made it herself. Other employees reportedly ate it. Then it sat on a conference room table for several days. Jared, I'll point out that this is the second time an employee of the Macomb County Medical Examiner's Office has filed an ECOC claim alleging a hostile workplace. A former employee filed one back in 2016 and was then fired, according to the FREEP, and that complaint is still pending.
Sven, how? This is 2020. How? How is this okay? I don't even know how on earth you get from here to there with this story. This came through the news wires, over the last morning, and I was just like, what do we do? I mean, I can't even.
It's just like another day, another terrible story out of somewhere about somebody being awful. We just covered the Harper Woods mayor stepping down in the light of, making racist comments. I think maybe in the past, this stuff kind of slid under the radar more, and there's just more awareness now. And so it's coming to the fore, but it is just not painting our society in a good light.
The border between the United States and Canada has been closed for months due to the coronavirus, And a new report from the CBC says that it could be closed for much longer. A new survey out says that 86% of Canadians want to keep the border shut between the two countries for all except essential travel. Prominent Canadian economist Moshe Lander from Montreal's Concordia University predicts that it will be at least mid-2021 and more likely the end of 2021 until the border reopens, having massive impacts on both sides, especially in a border town like Metro Detroit. The Canadian government recently began allowing Americans to visit immediate family in Canada, including dependent children, spouses, and common law partners under certain circumstances. Others, though, have opted to get married, and there are two ways to do this. One, the Canadian member of the couple can fly to the U.S., or, and I just have to share this one because I had no idea this was a thing, both partners can travel to the Peace Arch border crossing between British Columbia and Washington State. There's a shared Canada-U.S. park that's neutral ground. And although the Canadian section is closed, our northerly neighbors can still enter the U.S. section of the park for the day and visit with their American partner, so you can go out west for your Canadian love. It's also a place, if you want, you could get married there, Sven.
Well, that's good to know, I guess. But man, what does this say? That, I mean, I've been seeing like memes on Twitter where I don't know if it was the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo or something, was, issuing the familiar like, oh, love it or leave it type, sentiment about, criticizing your country or whatever. And somebody replied with like, there's literally nowhere to go. Nobody will let us into their countries, I mean, it's really, I think, an illustration of how the rest of the world basically looks at us as like this global pariah right now because we cannot get a handle on the coronavirus.
43% of Michigan tenants are at risk for eviction right now, and although the city of Detroit has a moratorium on evictions for another 2 weeks, most of the region and state does not, as the 4-month stay on evictions issued by Governor Gretchen Whitmer has expired. And that's creating a lot of uncertainty. Many may not think of the suburbs as having poor people, but the truth is, poverty in no way is limited to the city of Detroit. The Stout consulting firm estimates, using U.S. Census data, that more than 450,000 Michigan renters are at risk, and the danger is disproportionate along racial lines. Nearly 40% of black renters say that they have no or slight confidence that they can pay next month's rent, compared to just 1/4 of white respondents. The state is aiming to help with a $50 million diversion fund. Through the program, landlords could get one-time payments, but they must let the renters stay in their homes, forgive late fees, and forgive 10% of what's due. The program has a wide level of eligibility in that tenants who earn up to 100% of their area's median income can qualify for assistance. It's unclear how hard the storm of evictions will hit over time, but as unemployment supplements and stimulus dollars are not coming from Washington with any certain timeline, there will be some significant number of homeless Michiganders in the future, and this is something we will need to follow going forward.
And it doesn't help that the extra $600 in pandemic unemployment insurance just ran out at the end of July across most of the country, and I think like a week earlier here in Michigan. And, Congress the Senate specifically is kind of sitting on its hands and, unable to pass new relief. I don't understand what they're thinking here because, as we keep saying over and over, like, there is no separating the coronavirus from the economic recovery. Like, you cannot have one without making progress on the other. Lordstown Motors, the company that is building an electric pickup truck in a former GM factory in Ohio, is going public. The company announced Monday it was merging with a company called Diamond Peak Holdings. The deal also includes a $75 million investment from General Motors as part of a larger tranche of funding from institutional investors. The deal creates a pro forma implied equity value of the company at around $1.6 billion. And it will add $675 million in immediate cash. Transaction is expected to close in the fourth quarter, and Lordstown will be listed on the NASDAQ under the ticker RIDE. Lordstown recently unveiled its first model called the Endurance. It's a full-size battery electric pickup aimed at commercial work fleet customers. Production is now expected to begin in the second half of 2021 at the plant in Lordstown, Ohio. that it purchased from GM last year. And Jerry, I would just add that Lordstown says it has secured something like, I think, 27,000 orders, mostly from fleet operators, worth $1.4 billion in potential revenue, which is good news. Apparently, this company has attracted the interest of investors here, which is pretty interesting.
So, Sven, what do you know about the truck?
Well, there's still a lot we don't know, although we've seen plenty of it. A fairly modern-looking truck. Looks a little bit like Rivian's truck. It has fancy LED lighting going along the body. There's still no real specs. There are in-wheel electric motors. It'll start at $52,500. That's before the $7,500 federal tax credit for EVs. Here's what Steve Burns, the company's founder and CEO, said in a video accompanying the news this morning.
It is the first electric full-size pickup truck to come to market. It has zero emissions. It's all electric. It gets equivalent of 75 miles per gallon. So imagine a pickup truck getting 75 miles per gallon. And no compromises.
Although there's a pandemic, people are still using public transportation, and they're planning for the future over at SMART. That's the suburban bus system here in Metro Detroit. Among a slew of possible changes, one that caught my eye was a large extension of service for the fast Woodward bus. The line has quickly become a flagship, helping drive increased ridership numbers pre-pandemic and providing a reliable spine to what's been a moribund and underfunded public transportation system here. This new change would take the fast Woodward bus all the way from downtown Detroit to Great Lakes Crossing in Auburn Hills, also adding a stop at a Meyer out that way. There'd be 2 additional stops in downtown Detroit as well, including one right out front of Comerica Park. Some planning and public meetings still need to take place for this to go into effect, and you can find out all of the info on their website at smartbus.org. I will say I like this ambition and this kind of thinking, Sven. One could even theoretically visit listener Bob out in Auburn Hills with this, which I'm excited to think about.
Yeah, but let me ask you, Chair, though, would you get on a bus right now?
No. I mean, this is definitely post-pandemic planning.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people who have to, and I get it, but
Yeah.
I don't have to, so I'm not going to.
Although I got a push alert from the New York Times on my phone, I think yesterday, talking about why riding the subway right now during the pandemic is actually a lot less risky than you might believe. And I haven't had a chance to read it, but I'll put a link to that in the show notes.
Joining me virtually, as he does, to talk all things DCFC and other sports ball, Fletcher Sharp. Welcome back, sir.
Thanks for having me again.
Absolutely. All right. Busy weekend for DCFC. What happened?
It was the NISA Independent Cup. Detroit CFC got a chance to play against their old familiar rivals, AFC Cleveland and FC Buffalo. They have not played FC Buffalo in quite some time, but I know the last time they played against Cleveland SC was their last game in the NPSL, where Cleveland beat them on penalty kicks to move forward. This weekend, however, was not the case, as they throttled both teams 3-0. Standouts this weekend, Sean Lawson, of course, Connor Rutz, who had 2 goals, including an amazing free kick. Roddy Green chipped in with a goal and an assist as well. So, Detroit City was rolling, and I'm happy that people actually got a chance to watch them play, so they stop asking, can we go to the games? Can we go to the games? So they actually got a chance to watch them play with breakdown. I'm a little confused as to why some people thought this wouldn't be the case, because they're a professional team and they show that they're a professional team. I know some people were talking about these games might get a little close, and no, professional teams should not be challenged by other teams, even if they are rivals. So I'm glad they took care of business and made sure to keep it this way. Originally, NISA was not sure if they were going to come back for the fall, but NISA put together a fall schedule, which is all contingent on whether we get a better hold of this disease or not. But Detroit City's next game is August 15th against Chattanooga FC, who they have a friendly rivalry with. But a game that I think people should really pay attention to and look forward to is September 5th. New Amsterdam FC, which is a team based in New York. Their new head coach they just signed is Eric Winalda, who is a U.S. men's national team icon. If you know American soccer, you know the name Eric Winalda. So for him to sign to New Amsterdam shows some faith in the NISA League, and it'll be his chance to come to Keyworth and experience, all that everything has there.
Well, and even though the stadium is not filled with people, it's kind of cool because you can stream all this stuff at DetCity, DetCityFC.com/Watch City, which is just kind of cool. I'm just a fan of listening to sports in general. So, I mean, I enjoy that kind of stuff. Next up, I think we need to talk football because the news is Matt Stafford has coronavirus.
That's like the Lions league. That's the season. They should find an excuse just not to play. We talked earlier in the year about they were rating the team about everything else here is not great, not great, not great. Quarterback, pretty good. So if that's the only one good thing about your team right there, you might just want to pack up the season. There's no point in playing at this point.
He may recover. I mean, right now as we record this, he's asymptomatic, but it's something to really watch because there's been players in other leagues. I think notably in baseball, there's a pitcher that has some serious heart issues that are resulted from COVID-19 because we're finding more and more of these knock-on effects that we just didn't expect to have.
He is asymptomatic right now, which is good. I'm glad that he's not going through the actual throes of the disease because what I've read and what I've seen has been very uncomfortable. And no matter how old you are, how young you are, you feel the exact same way. But he might be fine. And he might go out there to throw a pass or something to somebody. And someone might catch it who, might be susceptible, who might actually end up getting sick as a result. And I think it's a good move for them to put him to that list. But I think if high-profile players are, skipping, I know the New England Patriots have had so far 10 players say they're not going to play this upcoming season. If you have that many people, 10 out of, 60, 70 people say they're not going to play, maybe you just shouldn't. I mean, the upside is we get sports back. But, aside from that, I don't really see an upside for everyone if they make them play.
Well, and this was despite the fact that they have these Black Mirror-like chip watches or chip wristbands, Fletch. I mean, it's kind of crazy what they've been doing with the monitoring.
Yeah, if you have to, monitor someone who they talk to, I'm not sure if people are familiar with the story, but I know the Lions recently came out with their players wearing these wearable hardwares, and headbands and wristbands, where it monitors who they talk to. And if it's someone they should not be around, an alarm goes off to signal that. And if you have to do that to make sure people are staying, away from people who are sick and etc., that's way, you're putting all this energy into what you can do to try to catch it when you should be putting energy into stopping it. I don't think people are totally grasping what could happen potentially. Because unlike other sports, I get soccer to a degree. Football is 100% contact all the time. Someone's getting hit every single play. So if you have teams that have people that are afraid or you have people that are sick and big names that are sick, we just probably should wait until these people aren't sick. It's not like playing with a sprained wrist or something. This is really, really serious and it can affect everybody. Aside from really, really wanting to make sure that they hit revenue marks for the year, I don't really know why people would want to continue to play these sports.
Yeah, because you've got Major League Baseball that's on the fly tightening their restrictions as they go because they've had a pretty serious outbreak.
Every single week, it's a new team. It's we have to cancel these games because 3 of our players have coronavirus. I understand, players want to play. No one's really asked any of the players that are on veterans minimum, who make the minimum that they can. They ask the stars, and the stars are I don't want to do this if I don't have to. That's fair. I understand the people on veteran minimum. I have friends that are on that for NFL, MLB. So I understand they're well, I might want to play because I need the money. But also, their lives are worth it too. If they need to remain safe and you need everyone to remain safe, you can't just kind of trot people out there and hope that, something's okay. Until we have a better grasp, I know sports is a good oasis from things that are happening in the country, but I feel we just should not have that right now because we don't need to feel better and then be sick as a result of it. That's not really going to help anyone feel better in the long run.
Fletcher Sharp, you can follow him at Saint FDW on Twitter. Appreciate you all as always. Talk to you soon.
Yep, for sure.
Since I recorded this conversation with Fletcher, there is news that the Detroit Tigers St. Louis Cardinals series that was supposed to start today has been postponed. The 4-game series between the two teams was going to run through Thursday, August 6th. The Cardinals have had 13 members of the organization test positive for COVID-19, and the club has been in quarantine since Thursday and will stay in Milwaukee. So suffice to say, not great news and not a great indicator for the baseball season. Before we go, I gotta mention Jamie Samuelson, one of the nicest guys in the sports media game. Look, there are all kinds of tributes to the guy. I will link to a couple in the show notes for you to read. The top line is he passed on at the age of 48 due to colon cancer. He leaves behind 3 kids, and his wife is Christy McDonald, who you know from Public TV's One Detroit and a long local TV career. Our sympathies go out to their family.
Yes, indeed. And don't forget, today is primary election here in Michigan. So if you haven't already cast your ballot by absentee voting, make sure you get out to the polling station. With voting rights under siege nowadays, it is more important than ever for you to get out and cast your vote. Democracy depends not only on free and fair elections, but, Jer, on robust participation.
I agree wholeheartedly. And that will do it for today's show. Don't forget we do this every weekday, so if you haven't subscribed for free in your favorite podcast app, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Overcast, any of those, what are you waiting for? It's great to have you aboard. With that, I'm Jer Stays.
And I'm Sven Gustafson. Take care of each other, and we'll see you with the mask on.